In this module, let's do a brief talk about caching, and specifically why it's important. And I'll give you a couple of examples of some good caching tools. Number one, what is caching? Well, it's very simple. It's a copy. That's it. You have a server which has all the live files, but it has to be retrieved from a hard drive. That information then has to go into the memory so that your website can actually receive the information. Now, the next time you come in, it has to go back to the site, put it into memory, and pass it across the site. So back to your browser. So what if the memory version could be kept there so that it's active and hot? Rather than going back to the hard drive, back to the databases, regenerating everything, why not just keep it in memory? Well, then it becomes a cache. Why not keep it in your browser? Then it becomes a cache. Why not store it in some sort of fast access area, which is already pre-compiled, like all the database results, already stored even on a hard drive? It's still faster than rerunning it against the database. Why not do that? Then that's a cache. So there's so many different types of caching. Why would you do that? Speed. It's all about speed, because to go back to the original database, go back to the original site, takes a lot of time. Imagine if the images, instead of being stored in your browser, they're stored back on the hard drive. Well, that takes a long time to collect that information and send it back down. It's sitting on your browser. It doesn't have to be downloaded again. So you've got a browser cache. These sort of things just add to the whole speed experience around the web and very important. What are some examples of cache? Well, you might have heard of one called Varnish. That's a server-based cache. You might have heard of one called WP Rocket that creates page caching so that your web pages are cached. You might have heard of Cloudflare. That's a form of cache too. It's actually what's called a CDN. We'll be talking about that in a future module. So there's nothing complicated about it caching. But they do complicate your site because it adds extra layers in there. And you have to be aware about clearing caches and that your users are getting the latest information. That's the problem with the cache, is because the original information is sitting on your hard drive. If the stuff in memory is old and stale, then there is that issue. So the timing of caching is the biggest issue. So you have to let the caches expire. But caching speeds up your site massively, and you should be using it everywhere.